I reject you. 3 words, cold as a blade, pierced through her soul. Arya Blackwood knelt on the ornate palace floor, feeling the excruciating pain of her fate's thread being violently torn apart. Her wolf howled in the depths of her consciousness, an agony that trembled through her very marrow. She lifted her head, gazing through tears at the man standing before the throne. The Alpha King Damian Steele, her destined mate. His silver eyes held only disgust. An Omega, the beautiful woman beside him sneered. How could the moon goddess pair the king with such trash? Lady Vivian Ashford's voice echoed like poison through the hall. But Arya knew the truth. She wasn't an Omega. She never had been. Years of lies, suppression, and manipulation had only made her believe she was worthless. Now, as the Alpha King's rejection stabbed into her chest like an icicle, she had no idea that life was already growing within her. 2 powerful heirs of Alpha lineage. They thought she would die in the frozen wasteland. They were wrong.
Welcome to Luna's Romance Stories. Read the entire novel in one go. Message or comment to tell me what kind of story you'd like to read. Subscribe to the channel for daily updates. Luna reminds you, the story begins now.
The Crimson Eclipse Palace burned under the midnight sky like a fallen star. Arya Blackwood pressed against the cold marble pillar at the edge of the hall, trying to make herself invisible. It was a skill she'd honed over her 23 years as an Omega in the Silver Fang Pack. Disappearing in plain sight. Tonight, that skill was failing. The annual full moon gala drew wolves from every corner of the Western Kingdom. Alphas draped in gold and authority, betas in silks worth more than her yearly wage. Even the servants carried more confidence than she did. She wore a borrowed dress, gray wool mended countless times, the stitches forming their own pattern. Her raven black hair, streaked with unusual silver strands, was simply braided. No jewels, no adornments, nothing to draw attention. She shouldn't have come. "What are you doing here, little mouse?" A mocking voice interrupted her thoughts. Arya's stomach sank. Greta, the head housekeeper, stood before her with arms crossed, her lips curled in familiar contempt. Luna said all pack members could attend, Arya whispered, her eyes dropping automatically to the floor. Pack members. Yes, not Omega scum who can't even shift properly. Greta leaned in, her breath reeking of wine. You are a disgrace. If anyone important sees you, then they'll see the foundation our pack was built on. A new voice cut in, male, calm, laced with quiet authority. Beta Aldrich stepped between them, his kind brown eyes landing on Arya with a warmth she rarely felt. The gala is for all wolves, Greta. Or have you forgotten the ancient laws? Greta's face flushed, but she backed off, muttering under her breath. Aldrich offered a small smile. Don't let her venom get to you. You have as much right to be here as anyone. Before Arya could thank him, the hall fell suddenly silent, as if blanketed by snow. The massive oak doors at the far end swung open. He was here. Alpha King Damian Steele entered like a storm-given flesh, 6 foot, 7 of pure dominant power. His shoulders broad enough to block out the light. His hair, black as raven wings, fell just past his collar in waves that seemed to absorb the chandelier's glow. But what truly made everyone in the room hold their breath were his eyes. Molten silver, burning with an inner fire, marking him as one of the strongest alphas in 5 generations. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than Arya's childhood home. Each step radiated command. The crowd parted like water before a ship's bow, every rank of wolf instinctively bowing their heads in submission. Arya felt her own head dip automatically, her wolf whimpering in her mind from the sheer weight of his presence. This is what a true alpha feels like, she thought distantly. She'd never been this close to the king before. In his 3 years on the throne, she'd only glimpsed him from afar, a distant figure of power and legend. Now he was less than 50 feet away, the air itself vibrating with his dominance. All hail King Damian Steele, the herald's voice boomed. Protector of the Western Kingdom, Alpha of the Crimson Eclipse Pack, chosen of the moon. The king acknowledged the proclamation with a nod, his expression carved from granite, cold, controlled, untouchable. At his side walked a vision of perfection. Lady Vivian Ashford moved with poetic grace, tall and slender, her honey gold hair cascading in flawless waves down her back. Her gown was the deepest emerald, cut to showcase her flawless figure, diamonds sparkling with every breath. Her green eyes gleamed with triumph, possessive as she elegantly hooked her arm through the king's the chosen Luna. The king's intended mate. Everyone knew the story. King Damien had rejected waiting for his fated mate, declaring the bond a relic of weaker times. He would choose his Luna based on strength, political advantage, and power. Vivian Ashford fit every criterion. Daughter of the Ashford dynasty, a trained warrior, a brilliant strategist, beautiful, deadly, perfect rumors said the king would announce their formal mating ceremony tonight. Arya felt a strange pang in her chest, almost like grief for a future she'd never wanted. She shook it off. Kings and Omegas lived in different worlds. His happiness or pain had nothing to do with her. She should leave, return to the servants' quarters where she belonged. But her feet wouldn't move. The king's head turned slowly, silver eyes scanning the crowd, acknowledging nobles, assessing threats, surveying his kingdom with a predator's calculating gaze. Then his eyes found hers. The world exploded. Golden light erupted behind Arya's ribcage, shooting through her veins like liquid fire. The mate bond slammed into her with avalanche force, absolute, undeniable, world-ending. Her wolf, usually meek and timid, surged forward with a howl of pure recognition, echoing through her entire being. Mate, mate, mate. The word became her heartbeat, her breath, her existence compressed into 4 letters. Arya's hand flew to her chest, gasping as the bond wrapped around her soul like golden chains. Every cell in her body oriented toward him, like a flower seeking the sun. The emptiness she'd carried her whole life suddenly filled with warmth, rightness, and home. No, she thought desperately. No, this can't be happening. But the bond didn't care about logic or impossibility. Across the hall, King Damien went utterly still. His nostrils flared, jaw clenching. Those silver eyes widened with something Arya recognized, because she felt it too: shock, astonishment, and the undeniable pull of the awakening mate bond. He felt it. She saw the moment it hit him. The way his body stiffened, his wolf rising in his eyes, turning silver to molten gold for an instant. The mate bond stretched between them like a golden thread, only they could see, taut with need and recognition. In one perfect, crystalline moment, time stopped. The Alpha King stared at the Omega, who should have been invisible, and she stared back, drowning in the impossibility of fate's cruel joke. He is ours, her wolf sang joyfully. Our mate, perfect, powerful, ours. Then Damien's expression changed. Astonishment twisted into confusion. Confusion darkened into doubt. Doubt hardened into something that turned Arya's blood to ice: disgust. No, he whispered. But in the hall's sudden silence, the word carried like thunder. He began walking toward her. Not the confident stride of a king approaching his mate, but the predatory stalk of an alpha approaching a problem to eliminate. The crowd parted faster, sensing something wrong, something dangerous in the air. Arya couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The bond sang between them, growing stronger with every step he took, until she felt it might tear her apart from the inside. He stopped 3 feet away, towering over her, his scent, pine, smoke, and midnight rain, assaulting her senses until she thought she might faint. You. His voice was deep, rough, utterly cold. The moon goddess chose you. Arya's throat closed. She managed a nod. My king, she began, her voice barely a whisper. Don't. The word cracked like a whip. Don't call me that. Don't speak. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Every eye in the hall was on them. Arya felt the weight of hundreds of stares. Shocked, pitying, curious, gleeful. Lady Vivian appeared at Damien's side. her green eyes flashing with something dangerous. She looked Arya up and down, her expression like spotting a rat in the kitchen. "This must be a mistake," Vivian said softly, but her voice carried. "An Omega, the moon goddess wouldn't pair the king with this." Her hand gestured dismissively at Arya's worn dress, simple braid, and downcast eyes. "She can barely shift," someone whispered in the crowd. "I heard she never completed a full shift. Defective bloodline." "What will the king do?" Damien's jaw tightened further. His wolf churned behind his eyes, struggling between the instinct to claim his mate and the reality of what she was. Arya felt tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. "Not here, not in front of everyone." "Please," she whispered, only for him to hear. "I didn't ask for this." Something flickered in his silver eyes. Regret, understanding. Then Vivian placed her hand on his arm, leaning close to whisper in his ear. Arya's wolf growled at seeing another woman touch their mate, but she had no right to protest. Whatever Vivian said hardened Damien's expression to stone. When he looked at Arya again, his eyes were empty, only cold resolve. "I, Alpha King Damien Steele," he began, his voice echoing through the silent hall. "Number O moon goddess, no. Reject you," he paused, lips curling. "What is your name, Omega?" The question itself was an insult. He wouldn't even learn her name before destroying her. "Arya Blackwood," she forced out through a tight throat. "I reject you, Arya Blackwood, as my fated mate and Luna Queen." The bond didn't just break, it shattered, white. Hot pain exploded in Arya's chest. She couldn't breathe, couldn't see, could only feel the golden threads connecting her soul to his being ripped apart one by one. She collapsed to her knees, a scream tearing from her throat, echoing off the marble walls. Her wolf howled in her mind, a pain so pure she thought she might actually die on that polished floor. The agony was everywhere, in her bones, her blood, her heart, like someone had reached into her chest and torn out everything that mattered, leaving a gaping void where warmth had been. Around her, the crowd murmured, some in sympathy, some in nervous laughter. Most watched with morbid fascination. Damien stood over her, unmoved by her suffering. If her pain affected him, his face showed nothing. "I choose Lady Vivian Ashford as my Luna and future queen," he announced coldly. "The moon goddess's choice is rejected." Vivian smiled, a victorious, cruel curve of her lips. "Accept the rejection, Omega," Damien commanded, his voice hard as steel. "Or I'll have you banished from my lands and exiled from every pack in the Western Kingdom. You'll be a rogue. You'll have nothing." Arya barely heard him over the screaming in her mind, over her wolf's mournful howls. But she understood enough. Accept, or lose everything. Through the tears that finally spilled, through trembling lips, she forced the words that would seal her fate. I accept." The moment the words left her mouth, the bond snapped completely. The golden thread severed like a cut wire, the void it left filling with icy emptiness. Her wolf retreated deep inside, whimpering, broken, silent. Arya slumped forward, forehead touching the cold marble. She had nothing left, no strength, no hope, no future. She barely noticed the guards approaching. "Get her out of my sight," Damien ordered. Already turning away, Vivian's hand slipped onto his arm, possessive, as they walked together toward the throne at the far end of the hall. The king didn't look back. Strong hands seized Arya's arms, hauling her up. Her legs wouldn't support her weight, so they dragged her, her feet sliding uselessly across the polished floor. As the oak doors closed behind her, cutting off the hall's light and music, Arya heard one last sound: laughter. The nobility of the Western Kingdom mocking the Omega who dared to be chosen by the moon goddess. The guards dumped her like trash in the servants' corridor. As soon as they left, Arya curled against the stone wall, finally letting the sobs pour out. Her chest was hollow, empty, aching with an indescribable pain. The mate bond, the goddess's sacred gift, torn apart before it could bloom. But in the wreckage of her shattered soul, beneath the grief and humiliation, something tiny flickered anger. What Arya didn't know was, in the shadowed depths of the palace, Lady Vivian Ashford stood before a cracked mirror, her reflection twisted by candlelight. Two figures in black robes flanked her, witches, their magic smelling of blood and betrayal. "Did the king see what we wanted him to see?" Vivian asked, her voice sharp. The elder witch nodded, her pale eyes gleaming. "He saw the visions we planted in his dreams for weeks. The Omega bringing darkness, the kingdom falling, death wearing her face." Vivian smiled. "He believes it was a prophecy." "Alpha kings are proud creatures," the witch crooned. "They believe their instincts are infallible. He doesn't know we've been poisoning his mind since we learned of the Blackwood girl's existence." "Good." Vivian turned from the mirror. "Let him think rejecting her was his choice. Let him think he is protecting his kingdom." "And the girl?" the younger witch asked. Vivian's smile turned cruel. "Oh, we're not done with Arya Blackwood, far from it." In the darkness, magic shimmered like oil on water. The rejection was only the beginning. 3 days passed in a haze of agony. Arya moved through the servants' quarters like a ghost, eyes hollow, silent. Other Omegas whispered as she passed, their pitying gazes like knives on her skin. Some offered awkward sympathy. Most just avoided her, as if rejection were contagious. The absence of the mate bond was a wound that wouldn't heal, where there should have been warmth and connection. There was only a gaping void in her chest, cold, empty, throbbing with every breath. Her wolf had retreated so deep that Arya could barely feel her, just a faint, wounded whimper in the farthest corner of her mind. "We weren't good enough," the tiny voice whispered. "We never were." Arya scrubbed the palace floors on her knees, just as she had for the past 3 years, but now every marble tile reflected memories of that night. The hall, those silver eyes looking at her with disgust, the shattering pain. She should leave, pack her meager belongings and vanish to some minor territory where no one knew her shame. But where could an Omega go? Especially one with a broken bond. Who would take her in? She was trapped in the palace that held her worst memories, serving the man who had destroyed her. On the 4th morning, everything got worse. Arya was carrying linens to the guest wing when she heard the scream. "Thief, guards, thief." The shrill voice belonged to Morgana, Lady Vivian's personal maid. Her cries echoed down the corridor, and within seconds, the thunder of armored boots approached from both directions. Arya pressed against the wall as 6 royal guards rushed past, hands on their sword hilts. Curiosity warred with self-preservation. She should keep walking. Getting involved in court drama never ended well, but something, instinct, intuition, perhaps just her wolf's faint warning, made her follow. The guards clustered outside Lady Vivian's private chambers. A crowd of servants and nobles gathered at the door, craning their necks to see inside. Arya slipped to the back of the group, making herself small. "Priceless," Morgana's voice came from within. "The moon tear necklace has been in Lady Vivian's family. For 6 generations, pure moonstone and diamonds, blessed by the temples of the first wolves. When did you last see it?" Captain Thorne's deep voice, all business. "Last night before Lady Vivian retired. On her vanity this morning, gone." "Has anyone been in these rooms?" "Only the cleaning staff, but they wouldn't." "Get me a list now." Arya's stomach plummeted. She'd cleaned Lady Vivian's rooms yesterday afternoon. It was her regular rotation, same as always. She'd dusted the furniture, changed the sheets, emptied the wash basin. She hadn't touched the vanity, hadn't even looked at it. But she'd been there. No, she thought desperately. No, they can't think. "You, there." Captain Thorne's voice cut through her panic. His icy blue eyes found her in the crowd. "Omega, come here." Arya obeyed automatically, years of submission overriding her fear. The crowd parted to let her through, and she felt their eyes tracking every step. Captain Thorne was a wall of muscle and authority, his scarred face expressionless. "Name." Arya Blackwood, Captain. Something flashed in his eyes, recognition. He'd been in the hall that night. He'd witnessed her rejection. You cleaned Lady Vivian's rooms yesterday. Yes, Captain, but I didn't. Search her. What? No, I didn't take any. But 2 guards were already on her. One gripped her arms, the other began patting down her simple dress with rough efficiency. Arya's wolf stirred weakly, wanting to fight back, but she was too broken to even shift. Captain, the searching guard said after a moment. Nothing. Relief flooded Arya. See, I told you. Check her quarters. The words were a death sentence. My quarters? Arya's voice rose in panic. Captain, please. I swear I didn't steal anything. I would never. Then you have nothing to fear. His tone said the discussion was over. They marched her through the palace corridors like a criminal. Servants pressed against the walls, staring. Arya caught glimpses of familiar faces. Some shocked, some gleeful, none willing to speak for her. Beta Aldrich appeared from a side hallway. His kind face creased with concern. Captain, what is happening? Theft investigations stand aside, Beta. Aldrich's eyes found hers. Did you do it? No. The word burst from Arya. Aldrich, I swear I didn't steal anything. But the guards were already shoving her forward, down the narrow servants' stairs to the basement level where the Omegas lived. Her quarters were a tiny room, barely fitting a cot and a chest for her belongings. It smelled of stone and lamp oil. The only window was barred. Facing the palace foundations, Captain Thorne shoved the door open without ceremony. Search everything. The guards tore through her meager possessions with brutal efficiency. They emptied her chest, scattering her 2 spare dresses, her mother's worn prayer shawl, and the small wooden wolf her father had carved for her 10th birthday. They ripped apart her cot, checking the thin mattress for hidden compartments. They even pried up the loose stone near the window where she sometimes hid a few coins. Captain. One guard rose from under the cot. His voice was odd, almost surprised. Found something. Arya's heart stopped. The guard held up a cloth pouch. When he opened it, moonlight seemed to spill from his hands. The moon tear necklace. Diamonds and moonstones caught the light, casting fractured rainbows on the stone walls. It was breathtakingly beautiful, and worth more than Arya could earn in 10 lifetimes. Number the word came out as a whisper. No, that is not mine. I didn't put it there. But even as she said it, she knew how ridiculous it sounded. The desperate lie of a thief caught red-handed. Captain Thorne's expression hardened to granite. Blackwood, you are under arrest for theft of royal property. I didn't take it. Arya lunged forward, but guards seized her arms, twisting them behind her back. Iron manacles clicked shut on her wrists, cold and unyielding. Please, you have to believe me. Someone planted it. I was framed. They all say that. Thorne's voice held no sympathy. Take her to the throne hall. The king will pass judgment. They dragged her from the room, her bare feet scraping against the stone floor. She struggled, twisting in their grip. A desperate scream caught in her throat, turning into a whimper. Her feet were scraped raw by the rough stone, icy pain shooting from her soul straight to her heart. The guards, iron, like arms clamped down on her, treating her like captured prey, devoid of dignity, only able to be dragged passively. Her wolf, her inner soul, roared wildly in the depths of her consciousness, slamming against an invisible barrier. It howled, raged, questioned this sudden betrayal. The doors to the throne hall were shoved open roughly. In the vast space, torchlight danced, illuminating the cold marble in golden splendor. The air was thick with the scent of pine and beeswax, a familiar aroma from the upper palace levels. But now, it only made her choke. The guards threw her onto the polished floor. Her knees hit the cold marble with a dull thud, pain making her vision blacken, nearly fainting. Your Majesty. Captain Thorne's voice echoed in the empty hall, cold and official. We found the stolen moon tear necklace in the quarters of Omega servant Arya Blackwood. She lifted her head, tears blurring her vision. On the throne sat the man, Alpha King Damian Steele. He wore a dark formal suit, his silver hair gleaming coldly in the firelight. His features were like a god's carving, every line perfect yet cold as eternal ice. Those silver eyes, ones she'd fantasized about in countless dreams, now looked down at her from on high. There was no warmth in them, only pure, unmasked disgust, as if she weren't a living person, but a revolting stain. Arya Blackwood. His voice was low and magnetic, each word a cold hammer striking her heart. She opened her mouth to protest, to roar, but her throat felt blocked, silent. She could only kneel there, disheveled, the manacles on her wrists biting coldly. An Omega. A soft female voice rang out, laced with undisguised scorn. She looked toward the sound, seeing the woman standing beside the throne. Lady Vivian Ashford. She wore a lavish silk gown, her golden curls impeccable, red lips alluring. She leaned against the king like a glamorous poison ivy clinging to an oak. Her gaze swept over Arya like regarding a lowly ant. How could the moon goddess pair the king with such waste? She chuckled lightly, her voice like poison slowly spreading through the hall. Arya's heart sank sharply, pairing. Impossible. She was just an Omega who couldn't even manifest her wolf form. The king was the supreme alpha. An unbridgeable chasm separated them. Why would she mention this? Unless a terrifying thought flashed in her mind. Your Majesty, she finally found her voice, hoarse and trembling. I didn't steal it. Someone framed me. The necklace isn't mine. Damian's eyebrow arched slightly, a flash of impatience in his silver eyes. The evidence is irrefutable. That is not evidence, she nearly screamed. It is a trap, Aldrich, Beta Aldrich. He can vouch for me. He knows my character. She clutched at this last straw, frantically searching the crowd for Aldrich. Finally, she spotted him in the corner. His kind face was etched with conflict and pain. He looked at her, lips moving but said nothing. Vivian laughed lightly, her fingers grazing Damian's arm. Your Majesty? Look, she is still denying it. This lowly Omega would do anything to climb the ranks. I didn't. Arya's tears broke free. I really didn't. Damian's gaze landed on her, cold enough to freeze a soul. He rose slowly, his tall figure casting a massive shadow that engulfed her completely. I reject you. 3 simple words. Like a blade quenched in ice, pierced her soul without warning. In that instant, the world froze. She could feel it. A connection. Something she'd never noticed but buried deep in her soul. A thread of fate, violently and cruelly torn by him. Agony, indescribable agony, erupted from the depths of her soul. Her wolf let out a piercing wail, a pain that trembled through her marrow. She arched her body sharply, feeling her organs twist. Something was stripped alive from her body. She coughed up blood, crimson splattering the white marble like a flower of desperate death. Number, she murmured, looking at him in disbelief. Why? Why would he reject her? Were they fated mates? How could that be? She was an Omega, a waste who couldn't awaken her wolf. Vivian's face bloomed with a victorious smile as she nestled into Damian's embrace, her voice sickly sweet. Your Majesty is wise. Such trash would only taint your noble bloodline. Damian didn't look at her. His gaze remained locked on Arya, those silver eyes holding disgust and relief. Enough. His voice was flat. Theft of royal property carries the death penalty under the law, but in the moon goddess's mercy, I'll give you a chance. He paused, each word pronouncing her final fate. Banishment. Strip you of your name, exile you from the kingdom, throw you into the frozen wasteland of the north, where your survival is up to fate. The frozen wasteland, that was a forbidden zone in the werewolf world. A white hell of only ice, snow, and death. Even the strongest alpha warriors dared not venture lightly. Tossing a defenseless Omega like her, there was no different from killing her outright. No, it was crueler than execution. It was to make her suffer, dying slowly in endless despair and cold. Take her away. He waved dismissively, as if shooing an annoying fly. The guards advanced again, seizing her arms. This time, she didn't struggle. All her strength, all her hope, had been drained by those words, "I reject you." She was dragged from the throne hall, the cold floor scraping her cheek. In the last moment before her vision faded, she saw Vivian Ashford lean into Damien's ear, whispering something. Damien's face seemed to flicker with a barely noticeable waver. But in the end, he did nothing. Just let her be dragged away, toward that white wasteland symbolizing death. The dungeon air was damp and cold, mixed with mold and despair. She was thrown into a narrow cell, her wrist manacles unlocked only at dawn the next day. The guards brought a hard black bread and a bowl of murky water. She didn't touch them. Her body ached, but the soul wound hurt more. The tearing pain of mate rejection rampaged through her like a ferocious beast, gnawing every inch of her flesh. Her wolf curled in the corner of her consciousness, whimpering. She leaned against the cold wall, her mind in chaos. Why would the moon goddess play such a cruel joke, pairing an Omega with the Alpha King, only for him to discard her so contemptuously? And the necklace. Who planted it under her bed? Who schemed so meticulously to frame her? Vivian Ashford. Her face surfaced in Arya's mind, that hostile, scornful gaze. Her posture beside the king, all declaring her possessiveness. Was it her? Because she sensed the fated link between Arya and the king, striking first. But Arya was just an Omega, a harmless servant. Why go to such lengths, and Aldrich? She'd trusted him like a brother. But in the throne hall, why had he stayed silent? What was that conflict and pain on his kind face for? Lies, lies everywhere. She curled up, burying her face in her knees. She felt like a fly trapped in a web, struggling futilely against this intricate snare. She thought she'd die here, or in the frozen wasteland. But days later, her body began changing strangely. Waves of nausea struck without warning, especially in the mornings. At first, she thought it was the dungeon food, but the feeling intensified. She became hypersensitive to smells. The guard's sweat, the sour stench from the next cell, all made her retch. Her body grew weary, sleepy. Strangest of all, her wolf in her abdomen, once dying, seemed to regain some vitality. It no longer wailed but lay dormant, as if gathering strength. Until that morning, after retching again, an absurd yet undeniable thought struck like lightning. Was she pregnant? No, impossible. She and Damien had nothing. She suddenly remembered something. A month ago, during the full moon festival, all unmarked wolves were influenced by the moon goddess's power, entering a frenzied state. Servants were ordered to stay in their rooms, but she'd sneaked out to gather herbs for a sick companion. In the rear garden maze, she'd gotten lost. Then, she collided with someone, An Alpha, his mind burned by heat, full of aggressive scent. She'd been terrified, turning to run, but he caught her easily, in the dark. She couldn't see his face, only remembering eyes like shattered silver. She struggled desperately, but an Omega's strength was nothing before an Alpha. He tore her dress. Everything happened in chaotic violence. Afterward, bruised, she fled back to her quarters, curling on her bed, crying all night. She'd buried it as a filthy nightmare, a shame never to recall. She'd thought it was some unknown Alpha, but now, as Damien's silver eyes resurfaced in her mind, everything connected. It was him. That night's Alpha was Damien Steele. Her hand trembled, slowly touching her abdomen. Here grew his children, 2 heirs of powerful Alpha bloodline. Why 2? She didn't know. It was intuition, a sense from deep in her blood. Her wolf told her 2 strong lives grew within. They thought she was an Omega. They thought banishing her to the frozen wasteland would kill her quietly. They were wrong. She wasn't an Omega. She never had been. Those years, the bitter herbs her mother made her drink daily, the spells suppressing her power, the teachings that you are just an omega, learn obedience, all lies. A massive lie woven to protect her. Now, that lie was shattered by the king's rejection. The chains suppressing her power cracked. Her wolf, imprisoned for 18 years, was awakening. Sharp pain struck her abdomen, heat surging through her body. Every bone shifted, reorganized. The invisible barrier suppressing her shattered by the new life's power in her womb. Ah! She let out a pained roar, not human, but a wolf's howl. Power, unprecedented power, flooded her like a bursting dam. Her senses amplified infinitely. She heard guards' footsteps outside, smelled every dust particle in the air. Her eyes glowed golden in the dim cell, alpha light. She looked at her hands. They no longer trembled. She felt the surging power within, the pulsing of the two little lives in her abdomen. Damian Steele, you rejected me. Vivian Ashford, you framed me. You thought you could destroy me easily, but you don't know what you've awakened. I will survive. With my children, survive in the frozen wasteland. Then I'll return. To claim what is mine. The day of banishment, the sky was grim like a dirty lead slab. She was led from the dungeon, wearing only thin prison garb. Chill wind scraped her skin like knives, but she felt no cold. The awakened power formed a warm barrier, protecting her and her children. They loaded her onto a crude prison cart, wheels rumbling toward the north gate. Crowds lined the streets, pointing, faces curious, disdainful, gloating. Look, that is the Omega who stole the Queen's necklace. I heard she tried to seduce His Majesty, shameless. Deserves banishment, better dead in the wasteland. The words stabbed like needles, but she remained expressionless. Her gaze pierced the crowd to the distant towering palace. There her enemies dwelt. The cart stopped at the north gate. Captain Thorne personally unlocked her manacles. Blackwood, from now on, you are no longer of the kingdom. His voice was still hard, but his eyes complex. He seemed to sense changes in her, but couldn't pinpoint them. She flexed her wrists, feeling long, lost freedom. My name is Arya. She looked at him calmly. She was no longer Blackwood. That name, with her past, was buried on the throne hall floor. Thorne paused, said nothing more. The gates closed slowly behind her, sealing off the world she'd lived in for 18 years. Ahead lay endless white. Gales whipped snowflakes howling like beasts. The air was cold enough to freeze blood. This was the frozen wasteland. She tugged her thin garb, hand on her abdomen. Don't fear. Children, Mommy will protect you. She lifted her head, stepping into the storm in her golden eyes. No fear, only ignited, unextinguishable flame. The first night in the wasteland, she nearly froze stiff. The blizzard showed no sign of stopping, intensifying. She found a wind-sheltered rock face curling in a crevice, shielding her children with her body as best she could. The newborn power warmed her, yet drained her stamina rapidly. She was hungry, a beast, like hunger gnawing her stomach. In the dungeon, at least moldy bread and fishy water. Here, only snow. She grabbed a handful, stuffing it in her mouth. Icy sting slid down her throat, granting momentary moisture, but it didn't ease the hunger. She needed food for the children, for herself. As dawn's faint light pierced thick clouds, she struggled up. Legs numb, but she forced them to move. Her senses sharpened in the extreme cold. She smelled a faint, almost masked bloody tang in the wind. Following that scent, she trudged through deep snow. After unknown time, she found the source. A frozen snow rabbit. It lay stiff, half buried in snow. Only red eyes exposed, staring blankly at the sky. Food she pounced, digging with stiff fingers, unearthing the corpse. No fire, no knife, she hesitated. Then wolf instinct overrode all. Closing her eyes, she tore the cold fur with her teeth. Raw meat filled her mouth, bloody and sweet. Her stomach churned, but she forced it down. This was the price of survival. She had to adapt. After half the rabbit, warmth rose from her stomach, replenishing her power. She wrapped the rest in her garb hem, tying it at her waist, and pressed on. She needed true shelter, a cave to hide from storms, to safely birth her children. The wasteland was vast, white snow, bare black rocks. Her golden alpha eyes saw clearly in this white world. She discerned every distant rock outline, every minute snowflake trajectory. Finally, at a massive rock mountain base, she found a dark cave mouth small, half covered in snow, but inside smelled of dry earth and stone. No beast scent. She crawled in. The cave was deep, pitch black, but dry, perfectly blocking outside wind and snow. This would be her new home. In the following days, she busied for survival. Daily, she foraged for food. With sharp senses, she always found frozen small animals or dug tough moss from under ice. She used sharp stones to skin prey, laying furs in the cave's depths for a crude nest. At night, she slept on those furs, feeling the two little lives in her abdomen grow stronger daily. Their heartbeats like small drums, strong and clear, bringing endless comfort and hope. She often thought of Damien, his silver eyes, his cold tone saying, "I reject you." The chest pain lingered, but less sharp hatred, like seeds buried in frozen soil, sprouted quietly in every blizzard howl, every raw meat bite Damien's steel. Vivian Ashford, wait for me. As her belly grew, so did her power. Not just alpha power, but something older, stronger. She felt her wolf fully awakening. It craved battle, blood. She channeled that craving into vengeful obsession. She trained consciously, running in blizzards, adapting body to extreme cold and fatigue, sharpening claws on stones like blades. Her body became leaner, powerful. The past Omega weakness vanished, replaced by Predator's prowess. She even began short shifts. Lone dusk, chasing a snow fox. It was cunning, darting between rocks. Chase instinct peaked, a low growl from her throat. On all fours, bones cracking sickeningly. Next second, vision changed, world elongated, colors sharper, speed doubled, agile limbs silent on snow. She became a silver giant wolf, larger than any she'd seen, fur gleaming metallic in sunset. The fox was a laughable toy before her. She caught it easily, snapping its neck. Hot blood surged into her mouth, awakening primal cravings deep in her soul. She tilted her head, howling piercingly at the blood-red sky. The sound cut through the storm, echoing across the empty wasteland. Full of power, freedom, and long suppressed anger, she shifted back, collapsing in snow, panting heavily, shifting drained energy. But the control felt addictive. This was her true self, not Omega, not anyone's appendage. I, Arya, am an alpha who can shift into a wolf, an existence they've never seen. The day of birth came without warning. Immense pain drowned her like waves. She curled on the cave furs, sweating, teeth grinding. No preparation, no midwife, no clean hot water, only herself. Ah. She let out a suppressed roar, fingers digging deep into the furs. She felt the children striving to emerge, their power intertwined with hers, source of pain and motivation to persist. She couldn't die. She'd promised to protect them. Opening her eyes, golden pupils shone terrifyingly in darkness. She marshaled all her alpha power, guiding the two little lives' birth. Time lost meaning in pain. After unknown duration, with a loud cry, the first child was born. A boy. She bit the cord with teeth, cradling his tiny, wrinkled body, wrapping him in relatively clean hide. He was healthy, cry resonant. She felt his pure, powerful alpha aura. Immediately, the second child followed. Another boy, his cry weaker but vital. She held her two sons, exhausted, yet filled with unprecedented fulfillment. They were her life's continuation, her vengeance's hope. She named them, the elder, Cain, meaning warrior. The younger, Orion, the brightest hunter constellation. My warrior, my hunter. Mommy will take you home. With children, life grew harder, more purposeful. To provide enough milk, she hunted more. Larger prey, her shifts lengthened, form stabilized. She became the wasteland's apex predator. Even fierce snow bears fled her silver form. Cain and Orion grew fast. Months old, they toddled. Their eyes, one like hers, pure gold. The other, a color she least wanted, silver, identical to Damian Steele's silver. Whenever Orion looked innocently at her with those silver eyes, her heart ached, a mark of betrayal. But she loved them unconditionally. They were her all. They inherited strong bloodlines, showing alpha talents young. They'd pounce and roll in the cave, playing hunt games. She taught them wasteland survival, scent discrimination, water finding, lethal strikes, no kingdom etiquette or writing, useless to them. Only how to be strong, because she knew they'd return soon, to the kingdom that abandoned them, to claim what is theirs. 3 years passed in the wasteland's harshness. Cain and Orion grew into sturdy young boys, taller than peers with solid muscles. They ran knee deep snow all day and night, smashed ice with small fists, and she was no longer the banished. Desperate Arya Blackwood of 3 years ago. Ice honed her will, blood tempered her claws. Her power reached immeasurable heights. She flipped boulders easily, tore adult snow bears bare. Handed her inner wolf merged with her, a thought, and she shifted to that majestic silver giant wolf. This day, returning from hunt, she saw Cain and Orion squatting at the cave mouth, gazing south. Mommy. Cain turned, gold eyes shining. Soothe, many people coming. She dropped the prey, joining them. Her vision sharper, she saw distant black dots on the horizon. A group bearing banners with Steel Clan's lion emblem, they came. Her heart raced, not fear, but excitement. Blood surged, clamoring, thirsting. Cain, Orion. She crouched, looking at her sons. Remember what Mommy said. Remember. Orion answered first. Silver eyes star bright. Take back what is ours. Good. She patted his head. Now, go inside the cave. Don't come out without my command. But Mommy. Cain reluctant. This is an order. Her voice unyielding. They exchanged glances, obediently entering. She stood facing the approaching group alone. Wind carried their voices. Around here, Scout said, last trace in these rocks. 3 years she can't be alive. His Majesty's order, alive or dead, bring back. Majesty, Damian Steele, he sent for her conscience, or to root out. Her lips curled in cold smile. Either way, too late. The group stopped 100 meters away. Leading, a familiar face. Captain Thorne, aged more than 3 years ago, lines harder, on horseback, gaze sweeping sharply. Then, he saw her, in crude beast, hide clothes, hair loose, holding a bloody snow wolf. Her appearance worlds from 3 years Palace Omega. Thorne's pupils contracted. He recognized her. His soldiers saw too, gripping weapons, murmuring. Is Miss Blackwood? A soldier uncertain, shut up. Thorne snapped. He dismounted, approaching alone. Arya Blackwood, his voice hoarse. My name is Arya, she corrected calmly. Blackwood is dead. Thorne's gaze complex. He scanned her, seeking past shadows, finding only a stranger full of danger. You are alive, he stated, incredulous. Disappointed, she countered. He paused. Then, His Majesty. The king has been searching for you. Searching, she laughed, piercing in snowy expanse. To confirm I am dead, Number Thorne frowned. 3 years ago, shortly after, Lady Vivian was exposed. She stole the necklace. She used forbidden drugs on you, preventing your true power at awakening. She deceived everyone. Her smile faded, Vivian as expected. So, she asked coldly, the king apologizes? Thorne's face darkened, hard to speak. Vivian executed, the king sent searches these 3 years. He regrets. Cheap word. One regret erases the piercing pain of rejection, erases her struggles in ice, erases the near miscarriage danger. His regret means nothing. She looked at Thorn, golden eyes void of warmth. Tell him I am fine. Never disturb me again. She turned to leave. Wait, Thorn urgent. His Majesty needs you. She stopped, looking back like at an idiot. Needs me, 3 years ago. Discarded like trash, now needs. Am I his beck and call pet? The kingdom needs a true queen, Thorn raised voice. Moon goddess's prophecy can't err. You are his fated mate. Only your union ensures strong, stable royal blood. Queen, she echoed, ironic. Your king hates Omegas most. Didn't he say Waste doesn't deserve his side? You are not Omega. Thorn stepped forward, agitated. We know, Vivian confessed. You are Alpha, as powerful as his Majesty. Oh? She raised brow. He knows now, wants me back, Thorn. Possible. Arya, Thorn pleaded. For the kingdom, please. Shut up, she interrupted. My kingdom is this wasteland, my people, my children. Children? Thorn froze, catching the word. His gaze drifted to the cave behind. Alarm bells rang in her. Damn, slip of tongue. Thorn's eyes changed. Shock, doubt, ecstasy, emotions alternated. You have children? His voice trembled. His Majesty's. She didn't answer, staring coldly, fingers curved, nails sharpening. One step closer. She'd rip his throat without hesitation. Thorn sensed her killing intent, stopped, but eyes locked on cave, as if piercing it. Oh gods! Moon goddess above, he murmured. Alpha heirs. 2. No, 3 powerful alphas. He sensed it. Cain and Orion's auras, hand over the children. Thorn hardened. Their royal blood must return to palace. She laughed. You mean, take my children from me? Not take. Thorn righteous. Their princes. Deserve best upbringing, not fur. And blood here, Arya. Don't be selfish. Selfish. Her rage ignited, banishing me to die, not selfish. Now find I am alive, bore heirs you want. Talk duty. Last time, take your men, leave my territory. She enunciated, voice threatening. Or I don't mind more corpses in this snow. She emanated powerful alpha pheromones, icy, bloody, oppressive, like an invisible net pressing Thorn and soldiers. Horses restless, neighing fearfully. Weaker soldiers paled. Legs shaking, Thorn, battle-hardened. Withstood her pressure, gritting. Arya, you can't fight the kingdom. Strong as you are, beat hundreds, thousands, for children. Come back, then try. Her words unfinished, body changing. Bones roared, muscles expanded. In Thorn and Soldier's horrified gaze, she became a massive silver giant wolf. Her height matched his mounted. Golden beast pupils like burning suns, radiating terror. Awoo! She howled skyward, shockwaves shaking snow loose. Soldiers collapsed. Wolf! Werewolf! Monster! She is a monster! They turned horses, fleeing chaotically. Formation shattered. Only Thorn stood, face drained, sword hand trembling, unretreating. Monday monster, he looked, lips quivering. What are you? She didn't answer. Forward step. Giant paw leaving deep print. Lowering head, cold nose nearly touching his face. Threatening growl from throat, hot breath on him. She saw his fear, but also faint. Relief, as if expecting something. As she prepared final strike, children's voices from cave. Mommy. Cain, her movement froze. Thorn heard too, gaze past her to cave. She whipped back, Cain and Orion at mouth, small figures out from worry. Orion's silver eyes shone like stars in dim. Thorn saw eyes identical to King's prince. "Your Highnesses," he murmured, dazed. "Bad." Her heart sank. Her biggest secret exposed. Ignoring Thorn, she shifted back, rushing to cave, shielding children. "Go back," she hissed. Too late. Thorn's eyes transformed, from duty to fanatical loyalty and mission. "Must bring princes back," he raised sword, yelling at remaining soldiers. "Form up, protect princes, bring them to kingdom at all costs." Scattered soldiers hesitated, stopping, looking at her. Then children, eyes fear and conflict, but orders absolute. They regrouped, slowly forming encirclement. Holding her sons, she felt unprecedented crisis. She could kill Thorn, all here. But as he said, not endless kingdom soldiers. Once Damien knew of children, he'd send more relentlessly. She and children, no peace. Number, she wouldn't let them take her children. Cain and Orion clutched her clothes, sensing danger. "Mommy, are they bad?" Orion whispered. "Yes," she answered, unhesitating. "Then we fight." Cain waved small fists, gold eyes war, lit, looking at brave son. Warmth surged. "No, we don't fight. We go back to palace, not as retrieved errant queen, but as conqueror." A mad plan formed rapidly. Looking at Thorn, at ready soldiers, she suddenly smiled. "Fine," she said. "I'll go with you." Thorn stunned. Unexpected easy agreement. "What?" I said. "I'll take my children. Go see your king," she repeated, smile with depth they couldn't fathom. "But one condition." "What?" Thorn wary, holding sons, she straightened, looking at him, clear. "Tell Damien Steele, I, Arya, am back, with his firstborn and second son to inherit his kingdom. As for him..." She paused. Golden eyes flashing wolfish cunning and cruelty, "he can abdicate." Captain Thorn's expression froze, as if sealed by the frozen wasteland's chill. His soldiers exchanged glances, doubting their ears. A banished Omega. No. An enigmatic Alpha, she. Wolf with 2 illegitimate sons, demanding the king's abdication upon return. This was unprecedented arrogance. "You are mad," Thorn blurted, gripping his sword tighter in shock. "This is treason." I chuckled lightly, my laugh carrying the wasteland's icy bite. "Treason, Captain Thorn. You seem to forget. The kingdom betrayed me first 3 years ago." I gently pushed Orion and Cain forward a step. The boys puffed their small chests fearlessly, one with sharp golden eyes, the other with calm silver ones. The pure alpha auras of the Steel clan emanating from them were undeniable proof no one could refute. "Now," I looked at Thorn, my voice calm yet commanding with unyielding authority. "My sons, the legitimate heirs to the throne, are going home, and I am their mother, their guardian. As for Damien Steele, he can choose to welcome us gracefully, or..." I didn't finish, but a beastly chill flashed in my golden eyes, the threat implicit. Thorn's Adam's apple bobbed with difficulty. He looked at me, then at the children, and finally, reason prevailed over impulse. He knew the woman before him was no longer the pliable servant. She was a she. Wolf crawled back from hell, and beside her were 2 cubs with incontestable bloodlines. "I'll report truthfully to His Majesty." He sheathed his sword, forcing out the words. The kingdom's capital plunged into unprecedented turmoil from the news Thorn brought. The king had 2 sons with pure alpha bloodlines. The banished Omega servant, Arya Blackwood, not only survived but returned as a powerful female alpha capable of shifting. She demanded the king's abdication. Each piece of news exploded like a bomb among nobles and commoners. People flooded the streets, buzzing with speculation about the throne's future. Meanwhile, the Crimson Eclipse Palace's atmosphere was oppressive as a pre-storm eve. Damien Steele stood alone by the throne hall's floor. To ceiling window, his back solitary and heavy. In 3 years he'd executed Vivian, purged all nobles involved in the frame-up, consolidating power with iron fists. He'd become colder, more silent than before. No one knew that every midnight, he'd wake from nightmares of those shattered, desperate golden eyes. The pain of rejecting his mate, like delayed poison, eroded his soul day by day. His wolf was trapped in eternal regret and anxiety, tormenting him. When Thorn reported, learning she lived and bore him 2 sons, his long, dead heart beat fiercely for the first time, not for throne heirs, but because she lived. But following was her declaration. Let him abdicate. Like a poisoned dagger stabbing his most vulnerable spot, Your Majesty. Thorn's voice sounded behind. They're at the city outskirts. Damien turned slowly. 3 years etching deeper contours on his handsome, hard face. Those silver eyes churned with complexities I couldn't read. Let her in, he rasped. Let her come alone. I walked alone down the red carpet to the throne hall. High, heeled boots clicked crisply on marble, like drumming my return. I wore black tactical gear, offered by Thorn. Tight leather armor outlining my honed, powerful curves. Raven hair cascaded loose, silver strands striking in candlelight. The hall empty, only him before the throne, waiting. We faced across the long carpet. Time rewound to 3 years ago. Same hall, same people, but this time, our positions reversed. I approached step by step, steady and firm. I saw shock in his eyes, his tense jaw, felt his chaotic, pained alpha aura. He stopped 3 Damien Steele. I spoke. Voice even, I am back. He looked at me, lips moving. Long before sounding, Arya, he uttered my name with a vulnerability I'd never heard, nearly broken. The children, he asked, gaze past my shoulder, searching. I replied coolly. You won't see them until I see your sincerity. My sincerity. He smiled self-mockingly, uglier than crying. What right do I have to speak of sincerity? He stepped forward, silver eyes locking mine, bloodshot and pained. Arya, I know sorry means nothing. I know my mistake is unforgivable. 3 years ago, blinded by Vivian's lies and witches' illusions, I saw visions of the kingdom ruined by you. I thought I protected my people, but I was a fool veiled by pride and fear. The moment I rejected you, my wolf died. These 3 years, I've lived as a walking corpse. I searched not for the throne, not heirs. I just wanted to see you again. His voice lowered. Nasal, this iron. Willed Alpha King bared his wounds before me for the first time. Now you've seen. I forced icy tone, then, plan to welcome me back as queen, bear children, solidify rule? No, he denied urgently, stepping closer, almost touching. I won't force you anymore, Arya, if you want this throne. He inhaled deeply, making an excruciating decision. It is yours. He stepped back, kneeling on one knee. In the empty throne hall, the Western Kingdom's supreme Alpha King bowed his proud head to me. Arya Blackwood. He looked up, silver eyes filled with devotion and submission I'd never seen. I, Damien Steele, offer my crown, my kingdom, my everything. Just beg you stay where I can see you. My breath halted. I'd imagined countless reunions, his anger, force, using children to coerce. Never him kneeling, never offering the entire kingdom to me. The hall's side door opened gently. Cain and Orion, small figures escorted by Thorn, entered. They saw their kneeling father and standing mother, Orion's silver eyes confused, tugging my hem, whispering, Mommy, our father, why kneeling? Damien heard, body shaking. He turned stiffly, seeing the children. He saw Cain's gold eyes like mine, Orion's silver mirroring his. He reached, wanting to touch, but fearing to scare. Hand midair, trembling. A tear slid silently from this Iron King's eye. I watched them. My warrior, my hunter, and my mate. They were my kingdom. I gently placed my hand on Damien's back. Epilogue, I didn't take his crown. Damien remained king, but I became the kingdom's sole female regent. We didn't hold a mating ceremony immediately, repairing soul cracks with actions. He devoted all time to compensating us. He taught Cain swordplay personally, clumsily told Orion bedtime stories. He walked gardens with me, sent for Gem's continent. Wide if I glanced twice, he showed his favoritism lavishly, as if repaying 3 years' debt fully, and I gradually let go of hatred. I saw his change, his unconditional love for us. My wolf no longer growled at him, beginning to accept, crave him. On a full moon night, he took me back to our first encounter's rear garden maze. Under bright moonlight, he knelt again, holding a moonstone ring. Arya. He looked up, silver eyes full of starlight and love. I rejected the moon goddess's gift, committing unforgivable sin. Now, I want to atone with every second of my life. Will you accept me? Accept this Damien Steele who once hurt you but now wants only to love and protect you with his life. I looked, smiled. I extended my hand, letting him slip on the ring. I accept, I said. Not just the ring, but our once broken fate, reconnected mate bond. He rose ecstatically, pulling me tight, kissing deeply. This time, no pain, no tearing, only pure, warm love like tides drowning us in completeness. I knew we'd both been shattered, but under tonight's moonlight, we were finally whole.